Oh my, it's Kellee White.
Hey, it's James Van Prague.
What are you up to?
Thinking about changing the world.
Me too. We should do a show together.
What would it be about?
Let me show you.
The James and Kellee Show. Hi, James.
What, Cal? I'm just texting you right now. I'm sending you my
you texted me those pictures?
sunset photos.
Okay.
An incredible sunset in San Diego, in Encinitas. It was just magical, orange, pink, all that. And I was just walking in the garden, having a sunset walk, and it was just heavenly. So I sent you the photos.
Oh, thank you. I love sunsets. Aren't they magical?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, ever since I moved to California, well, yeah, living near the beach, when I started living there, very
That's
different.
true.
Yeah.
You know what? We have beautiful sunsets here too.
You do, don't you? I bet
Dude,
you
they're
do.
stunning. Yeah, they're just
And
stunning.
it's a flat area where you're living, or
Well,
is it
we
hilly?
live on a hill,
Okay.
on rolling hills. So it's just stunning. I'll send you some of those too.
Good to see you, Kellee.
It's great to see you too. I miss you.
I know we haven't spoken. I'm so sorry.
I know. You had a busy weekend.
I've had a busy weekend. A good
Yeah.
friend of mine for 40 years. She was here, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and so we're developing a TV show together. We've been doing that for 2 years now. We finally have the show. Well, we're going to pitch it to networks. I think it'll do very well.
Oh,
it felt great. Spirit came right through and gave it to me within 15 minutes. We had the show, and it was like, wow, I've never heard of this sort of thing before.
it's going to be incredible.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So let's do that and redo my kitchen, which is always fun, and redo painting kind of thing, and working my garden and getting yoga pants and getting new colors.
Sounds perfect. I love the color, the fall color.
What have you been doing? What pumpkins and cider or?
Well, I made apple butter.
You made apple butter from scratch?
From scratch, from my own apples. Yeah.
He's got to go into your book, from Beverly Hills to the farm. Yeah, they got to be part of that book.
Absolutely, they're going to be part of that. I'll put all my recipes in. It's fascinating.
So we're going to do a topic tonight, which actually was one of the first topics I read about when I used to go to the Bodhi tree on weekends to learn about things and read books and just have to read every weekend. And that's projection because it was an A, I guess, going alphabetically. One of the first things I read about. And that was in the early days, kind of 70s, 80s, kind of. I guess it was like the first thing that a lot of people heard about, right?
I think so. Should I go to the astrology first?
Yeah. First, let's do the astrology, please. We've all been waiting. And
let me go to the astrology, and then we're going
to. Friday. How was your full moon?
Oh, first of all, I was watching you Friday night.
Wasn't that amazing?
It was an extraordinary night, Friday night.
I think it was one of the best demonstrations I've ever done.
I think so too.
I think it was really, I mean, your daughter said you were cleaning the closet and something fell down of hers. Yes, I cleaned the closet and rose quartz fell off.
Oh no, there was that woman who lost her daughter, and she was a fairy, and she had the fairy this and the hair. She's in her pillow and all of these things. It was so touching. Everybody was so moved by that. By the whole night, it was really brought messages for everybody.
The one about reading about the husband and the wife that were there, and it took me forever to find my recipient, which always does happen sometimes.
Yep.
I was adamant. The spirit was adamant. I was adamant. It had to belong to someone who had. Go right ahead, tell people.
Yeah. Well, it belonged to somebody who. Right. Who I actually knew the couple. Is that what you're talking about? Yes. I love this couple. Diane and Tim. Hi, Diane and Tim, if you're watching. They were wonderful. Because I had done a reading for him. Well, I had done a reading for him a while back, and Tim's father had come through, and it was about forgiving. And then you didn't know this, and this father came through to you.
Well, the first thing he said was something about baseball.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Really, and baseball and trumpet. And some people kind of took it. Was like,
yes.
This doesn't feel right. And finally, Tim spoke up and said, my father's a professional baseball player, and I used to play the trumpet as a child.
Yeah. And then you said, bingo, that's it. It's you.
Yes. And all his father wanted was forgiveness. He begged his son to please forgive him. And then Tim said, my father used to come to my house and sit in front of the house 3 days in a row, and then he would leave the fourth day. I never opened my door to him. And he goes, tonight, James, I'm going to open the door.
Wow. Oh, I still have chills. That was I think there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Yeah, they're powerful for everybody. It's just everybody gets something.
Wow. When are you doing another one? In December or
it'll probably January.
January.
December and busy. So I think January start off the new year. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm going to do things differently next time. I'm doing every 2 weeks will be a psychic night.
Okay.
In 2 weeks there'll be a mediumship night. So 2 nights a month of psychic and mediumship.
Perfect. So, you want to know what's going on now?
Yes, please.
I'm going to tell you what's going
What
on.
is going on? Because I don't understand this roller coaster ride.
Oh, we're on such a roller coaster. Okay, so we just
It
had an
doesn't stop.
eclipse. We just had that lunar eclipse on the 19th, and then
Intense.
very intense. And then on December 4th, we have a solar eclipse. So we are
What's the difference,
between,
Kelly?
pardon me?
What's the difference?
Oh, well, the solar eclipse is all about new beginnings, and the lunar eclipse is about leaving and endings and
Past.
completions.
Past.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, we're in between the two eclipses, but that's not enough. We are in between two cycles of eclipses, which makes it
Oh, Lordy.
very challenging. So the lunar eclipse was Taurus and Scorpio, which
Right.
is life and death.
Right.
They're big ones.
What you told me, that was amazing. I never heard that before. Life and
Yeah.
death. I told some of my friends they love that analogy.
Such a
For sure.
powerful eclipse. Now, this eclipse axis will last until 2023, till 2023. However, the end of the old cycle, which was Gemini Sagittarius, is December 4th. So we're not just between two eclipses, we're between two cycles of eclipses, which makes it really intense. And then let's add some real fun holiday called Thanksgiving and families. And let's look at everything that goes on during this period of time. And today we went into Sagittarius. So
My favorite sign.
Sagittarius, it really is a powerful
Favorite
sign,
sign.
Sagittarius, because it really brings a whole level of people, a whole level of passion to things.
It's also a sign of counseling, therapy,
Yes.
and higher kinds conscious of prayer work and spirituality and travel and independence. And I would say it's a counselor sign because
Yeah.
people always walk up to Sag and just start speaking.
Well,
And
yes, because they're so open. They're so open and they're so curious. And they love to know. They love to know what's going on. They love to, and they do not back away from speaking their mind. It
it's called
comes up.
mouth disease. Is Sag.
Well, it is.
It
And
is.
to really emphasize how important that is, on Wednesday, we have a situation coming up which will be really interesting because Mercury enters into Sagittarius. So when Mercury enters into Sagittarius, there's no keeping
Not
your mouth
fast.
shut.
It's fast. It's
It
goes.
just
It's
comes
fast.
up and out, and that's the day before Thanksgiving. And so we
Wow.
have all of these aspects that are going to make this
Thanksgiving, a
next
real lively
couple
one.
a lively one, a very
Wow.
lively one. I mean, I don't you think, James? It'll be a very
Yeah,
lively.
absolutely intense. And you said endings and beginnings, which you're just going through right now. So that's going to be happening.
Right.
And
And that last eclipse is really interesting because during Thanksgiving period, it will bring up suppressed histories that you've had in your family, suppressed histories. So it could be gaslighting, it could be control, it could be how long you've downplayed yourself in a family. So
wow.
it's going to be a big, big event. I'm going to
You
say
know, I
Thanksgiving.
think you'll find, Kelly, as you live in Wisconsin a little longer, that the distance from family sometimes really helps.
Oh,
So
that's what
it
I was
helps.
saying. In 2020, nobody really had to go anywhere, and now we're going to be like, oh, with a whole set of values that might have changed and fluctuated.
I talked to my friend Marianne today about Thanksgiving, and I said, holidays, I just don't get the holidays. And just wrote a blog about it last week about holidays
Yeah,
because I think it's just so man-made and commercial. And I get the seasonal, of course, the harvest and so forth. But I love Christmas every day. I have gratitude every day. But that
right.
we should be it every day. We should live it every day. I think it's just commercialized.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but it gives an opportunity for families to be together, so that's fine. Whatever. By the
Oh,
way,
be
a
fun.
shout out to Kelly Dennis, my good friend, who was with me
Mhm.
all weekend, and we did the show thing we developed, and we had a great weekend. Thanks. I hope you made it home safely, Kelly. I know.
We love you, Kelly.
She watches every Monday. Yep. She does. She's Sag Moon like I am, or Sag
Oh,
Rising.
oh,
And
good.
so,
So,
we're going to talk about astral projection tonight.
yes.
So, what do you think of what says? What's astral projection?
It's where the process of detaching your consciousness from the physical body. It's
Yeah,
leaving.
excellent. I just, there's a lot of books on astral projection. I thought, well, what should I share with everybody? And I just found my encyclopedia, which I have on my shelves.
Hmm.
Psychic Encyclopedia, which
I
is the
love
best
that
book.
book. I have it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I got this years and years ago. It's a great book, right? So I thought I would read what it says here, if that's okay. Um, Astral projection is to will one's soul mind to leave the physical body enclosed in an ethereal body and travel to distant localities. A. Journey is pre-planned and pre-programmed, requires a relaxed state of consciousness to begin. Technique varies with each person, transpires in a conscious or unconscious state. B. Astral senses are fully alert while the physical body resembles a corpse. Silver cord is where I learned about the silver cord.
Yep.
Silver cord, and which is connecting the physical body to the spirit body. Isn't that great? The silver cord is then, let's place here. Yeah. Silver cord keeps the two bodies attached and breathing and heart pulsation synchronized. C. Astral body moves about in the astral plane, a foreign planet or another location on this planet. Detached body is physically visible, clairvoyantly visible, or invisible. So, look, that could be your haunted house. People think, oh, this place is haunted. It could be someone's astral bodies are running around. It's true.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you what happened to me, because I actually had an astral projection experience 40 years ago. Actually, I was 24 years old, and I was visiting my cousins and my aunt in the South, in Mississippi. So I had no idea of any of this. And one day I was in an energy I can only explain as I was very clear. I had no drugs, very, very clear, and in a heightened state of energy, actually.
And it was
So
during the
it
daytime?
was during the day, and then in the
What were you doing at
evening,
that particular moment,
I
Kellee?
well, I'll tell you. So it was the strangest thing. We were playing cards. We were playing cards. I'd never played cards. To this day, I'm not a card player, but we were playing cards. And I was in such a zone, James, that I knew I was good. I knew every card that was coming up. I knew everything about everything. They thought
Wow.
I was cheating. And I
Wow.
said, I'm not cheating. I know you're going to pull an ace of clubs. You're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. I couldn't explain it. So then they got mad and they said, we're going to bed, because I was winning, like over and over and over and over. But my energy was very, very clear and heightened. So we
Wow.
go to bed. As I'm lying down, all of a sudden, I'm out of my body. I'm at the roof of the room I'm in. I saw a silver cord attached. I knew at that exact moment that I could be anywhere. I looked down at my body. I had no fear. And I thought, this is what's happened to me. And I went through a wall, and I went in to visit my cousin who was asleep. I
Wow.
could tell you what she was wearing. I went into another room where my aunt collected dolls. So I had looked at all these oddball dolls, and then went to the roof of the house. And then I jumped over to the roof next door because I was just curious. And then I started thinking, "Oh boy, maybe," and I knew at this moment I could be anywhere at any time in the anything. There was no anything that would hold me back. If I could be anywhere. I could be on Mars, I could be in another dimension, I could be in time travel. I knew I could be anywhere at that moment. But
Wow.
then something said to me, I think it was my own fear actually,
Yeah.
"Go back." And I that fast went back into my body.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
when I knew that the soul goes on. The soul has the body is only here for us, but we're outside. We can live outside of the body.
So you had a sense of expansion, and that
Huge,
opened you up totally, right? That totally opened up your
huge, huge. And
that's amazing.
from what I understand, there are four ways to experience astral travel.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
first one would be unintentionally or unconsciously. So
Mm,
humans have been traveling in astral since forever, forever.
cool.
And
Cool.
that would be if you guys had like a memory of floating or flying in your dreams. That's also an astral projection. But what happened to me, the second way, is unintentional consciously. This happens when you accidentally leave your body and retain lucidity without previous training or knowledge about astral projection.
Sorry. I'm doing
I'm telling you, it was this energy. I just up and out.
wow. Wow.
And it was consciously, but it was unintentional. I didn't even know that this existed.
Wow.
And a third way is intentional but unconsciousness. So when you're unconscious, so you try to project and you might succeed, but it might be a lucid experience instead. This sometimes happens with beginners,
Yes.
but the best way to do it is intentionally with consciously do it. And that's
Right.
probably a more tricky way to do it, but
So
it takes practice.
it takes practice. And Robert Monroe at the
Yes.
Monroe Institute, I think it's passed over now. It's the first person I learned about. Has a program about that, and it's called hemisync. The different
Mm.
spheres of the brain, besides the brain, and get them in a certain alignment where it's an exit to leave astrally, And it's a great program. The Monroe Institute is fantastic, everybody.
Yeah.
You should check that out. It's a really good space and a lot of good, wonderful,
Right.
high-minded things going on, and
Oh,
astral
yeah.
projection is one of them. And there are ways to do it right, correctly, and even
Mhm.
position the body that you should be in, whether you're laying down or sitting down, or and what's in the mind.
Right.
There's all these different aspects that go into it for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. In fact, you wanna make sure well, there are a lot of techniques, um,
Yes. That's what
to
Robin Rowan teaches, different techniques.
different techniques, and I noticed with what happened to me, it was my mind was awake, but my body was asleep,
Oh, interesting.
and
Interesting.
that's where you wanna get yourself into that state, and
It's almost like a
sometimes
trance state, like a
I was
semi-trance
just
state.
gonna say it's
Yeah.
a trance state, and you can actually, achieve that by going into a trance state, and
Yeah.
it means this, it's like deep relaxation in a light trance
Oh.
gets you into astral projection.
Mm. Mm.
Interesting.
Interesting. I don't it's consciously remember. I don't consciously remember. I think
Okay.
somehow it's kind of foggy, but I think it was one time, long time ago. I don't think I was doing this work. I think I was looking over the UN, and there was some things going on with the League of Nations. I think that was one. And the one I do
Wow.
remember vividly was, and it was not astral projection per se. It was we all leave the body, and we astral project, and we go to the other side
Mhm.
at a different level, but we use that astral body to get there. And I and we'll come back to this lower level, this dense vibration. In the morning, we wake up in that
Yeah.
state. And I remember coming back into the body, but it was really strange, Kelly. It was like coming down on like a funnel, I guess you'd say, and
Okay.
these fragments of people, like arms, hands, reaching out, screaming, and yeah, and I was like they wanted to attach themselves, and I said, I don't know where it came from. I said, "Are you of love or God? Your love?" And that just it disappeared, and I was back.
Oh,
Oh, and my
how
body awake. But that was I
well,
remember that.
that's really interesting because one of the questions that was asked is astral projection dangerous?
Well, yeah, it's funny because Kelly, my other friend Kelly, that who was here this
Mhm.
weekend, we're writing a show about. I'm not going to mention, but it takes kind of this certain aspects of this, and we were talking about that too. That there are many spaces and places that you go to when upon death, as projection, the experiences. Not everybody goes to a happy place. Sometimes they talk about there are places that people go to, and people who have had near-death experiences will talk and say it wasn't nice for me. I felt like I was in hell, or I felt it was some. And this has been researched, scientific
Do
studies
you
have been done.
do you think
Yeah.
that's because of their belief system?
I think that's a point to it. I think it's an
Mhm.
aspect of it. I think it's their
Okay.
belief system. I think where their mind is at. How limited
Right.
are they as a mind?
Right.
How limited is a mind? Again, how they use love in life. How they've just been away from the human person,
Mhm.
the human experience, and evolved or expanded. So that all comes back to us when we leave the body. And at death, we all like go back and this is what you do with your life. Here's your report card.
I
So
like that. Here's your report card.
part of my work, but really my goal of my work is not to really, well, get people to learn about mediumship. No, really not. That's not really what it
No.
is. What it really is if people were more aware and conscious
Yeah.
about how they treated people, thoughts, words, and deeds, and that those thoughts had energy and there
Mhm.
was a look to it, there's a density to it, that
Yeah.
would affect everybody, a tapestry that influences everyone, they would be more responsible for what they put out into the ether. And I think that's really what I want. That's my goal in this lifetime to
Oh,
open them that way.
absolutely. That's always been your goal,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. That's why I did school, and yeah,
Mhm.
and because I
Oh,
learned from spirit, they said that they said please, and that's why I wrote the book. Unfinished Business because I got tired of hearing spirits say, "If only I knew this when I was alive in the physical body, I would have made a different choice or lived differently." But
right.
that's
Wow, so true. Well, astral projection also is referred to out of body experience. So some people would know it
same
by that.
same thing, same
Same
thing. So
thing.
just two names. Yeah,
So
very true.
there's a thing, but you know what lucid dreaming is? So
Explain it
there's
again, please, because
well, lucid dreaming is
you're
where
aware you're
you're
right.
aware you're dreaming and you can make a different choice, you can think differently, you can stop it, you can make a change in the lucid dreaming. It's so real, but
I
it's
haven't had many
different
of
than
those.
astral projection. It's
Wow.
different than astral projection, though. Um, some
Because you
people
get
think it's
choices? Is it that why? Because your choices that you're consciously aware that you have a choice?
well,
Is that why?
because when you astral project, and only because I had this experience, you are in the astral plane. You
It's
are
true.
in another area. It's
It's true.
different than remote viewing. Remote viewing takes place on in this dimension. But when you're in
Sure.
the astral plane, this is different because this is where you leave your body And it's where often would you say it's where we start to go once we pass over
Yes,
in the
100%.
astral
We
plane?
actually go over there before that. We usually go over there probably, well, 7 months before we leave the body. We'll usually visit there more.
Hmm.
And depends on if there's an illness or what, it depends on
Right.
the factor involved. But we become very aware. It's so funny. I was speaking to a friend, Kelly, my friend Kelly was with me. It was me. And yesterday we spoke about the older people, and when they're getting older, they start you know it does things don't matter as much to them, and that's fine, and things, you can throw things out, and I think that's part of it. I think it's like we
Yeah.
evolve, like we learn, and then it's time to go, and I think our soul knows that. It gets us prepared. Of course it does. And we
Yeah.
never go alone. Everyone should learn that there's always
Oh,
a team around us, of those living and those not. So
right. You're never alone.
yeah.
The other thing that I find so interesting about astral projection, you don't have to be an empath. You don't have to be a psychic. You don't have to be a medium. Anybody, it's open to anybody
It's the
at
soul.
any time. It's the soul.
The soul's journey. Yes, sure.
It's so interesting. And why do people even bother to do astral projection? Why would they even want to do it to begin with? It's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So that's when we go back to the first thing I learned when I was at the Bodhi tree with the A's,
Hmm.
as projected. What is this? And I'm really, and when I put something about Robert Monroe's techniques of the Institute, it's like, well, why would people be interested in this? And part of it, they said, was because it helped them, exactly what I just spoke about, open up spiritually, become more aware, change their
That's
perspective.
it.
That's really
That's
what it is.
it.
There are many roads, right? There are many roads
Hmm.
to the light, to the journey, and there are many religious
Right.
roads. And who says one is better than the other? It just depends on that soul's experience and what feels right, what resonates to them.
Right.
Mhm.
I was reading about this and it's interesting. Some people do it so they can get creative ideas. So they
I
might
never
do
heard
time
that. I like that.
travel. Isn't
I
that
love that.
interesting? They
That's
might
a
go
good one.
back in time, they might go in the ahead of time, they might go looking for different creative aspects. Isn't that interesting?
That's a good one. I never thought of that. That's this
Yeah.
is interesting. I think we do every night we go to sleep. We do go to
Yes.
meetings we meet our guides, our family. I think we go to classes and workshops, and I know this is so interesting. I'm painting my kitchen because I'm going to kitchen, new paint color, and then I have to have it go into the house and like the whole house. And it's hard to have a yellow go into the whole house, right? So I'm trying, well, right. I'm trying. So the colors have been on my mind, literally on my mind. And yesterday I was I don't know, fell asleep in that. It was a nice light nap, and I had the most vivid dreams about colors. And it was like, wow, these levels of colors, like blues and browns, and like colors I've never really seen before. But yeah,
So you probably were in the astral plane.
I think I took a workshop in paint, color
But
formula.
that absolutely you could have done that. That would make
We
sense.
do that. We do that in that sleep
Mhm.
state. We tend to go to
Right.
studies, workshop. We do. We tend to go to the hall of learning, if we're going to call it that. There's
Hmm.
so much. And as human beings, we get so caught up in, we got to give this a label and a name and a place. And it's so beyond
Right.
that. You can't. And
It's
that's
so
like a seventh
true.
dimension or a sixth dimension. How can you describe what's in a seventh dimension with a three-dimensional vocabulary?
You
It's
can't.
You can't do
You
it.
can't.
It
No.
work.
I mean, once I had that experience, that was life changing. I knew what I knew, and
Yeah.
nobody was going to tell me anything different. And
And you can't
until
go
you've
back.
had that experience, you can't go back.
You can't go back. My friend
Yeah,
Kelly
you
Weiss.
can't you can't go back. No. Um, let's see. So there's a
See,
lot
it's
of
I
questions.
missed you.
Oh my gosh. A lot of people say they receive creative inspiration in their dreams. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. People would do
And
that.
and if you put that out there to the universe, you say, tonight I'm going to sit, now, like I'm writing a book right now. So it's a
Mhm.
fictional book, and I'm trying to get ideas. And my dream state is I'm asking for ideas, and I've had some.
Yeah, yeah. Also, you can you can surpass your bodily limitations. So if you are handicapped or if you have some challenges physically, when you astral project, you do not.
How interesting.
Mhm.
As you were speaking, I heard a guide come in and say something to me. So they
Please.
said also that you cannot, wow, interesting, that you can expand your soul self in the astral world. You can, whether take classes, you can expand that what your souls come back here and learning. You can also in the astral project. You can learn to expand that in some way or change choices of certain things.
Yeah.
They just said that. They just said that.
Oh, I love that. And you can visit your with your guides too
You see,
that
guys
while
and
you're
family.
there.
Sure.
Right.
And
Joe,
there are worlds within worlds within worlds. So when you think of the astral plane too, just like the
right,
Earth, three-dimensional, it's all layers and layers and layers and layers. Worlds within worlds within worlds is really what it is. It's
right,
the rainbow. It's really the rainbow, if you will.
right. So wait, Margaret Cowie says, I was dreaming, I was with a friend, I was dreaming in quotes, I was with a friend more than 3,000 miles away. Then I woke up. I couldn't speak or move my body. A paralyzed. She was like paralyzed
Yep.
just for a few seconds. I forget what it's called, but it isn't the only time I've experienced this. I was told I was probably awakened suddenly, and it just took a few seconds for my soul to return. I've also experienced a levitation while working on a book I was writing. Yeah, Margaret, I understand exactly what you
Yeah,
just said.
totally. Oh, that makes I've had that kind of experience where
Yeah,
you're paralyzed, you can't move, and yeah. And
yeah.
that's an interesting one that she thinks she came back too early. That the body had to catch up. I like that. I like that
I was
explanation.
just gonna say, isn't that amazing?
Good one.
Really
I like
interesting.
that. Mhm.
We'll have to do a show on levitation too at some point.
Well, yes, because was it your grandfather was a table tipper?
He was a table tipper, and I've had that experience. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I had to walk out of the room with me. Literally, we had to get up and walk with the room. Was walking right out of the seance room. It was really
and
interesting.
that's something. I mean,
Ah,
there's so many things that we
the
do that
force, the force, the intelligence of the spirit world is beyond our comprehension.
right.
It really
Okay.
is.
So somebody, Cindy Harper says, I have a question. Do you believe in sleep hypnosis, and do you think it works? Um, I don't really know much about sleep hypnosis other than if you're talking about trying to get yourself into a trance. I don't, is that what she means, James? I'm not sure what you
You know,
mean.
it goes back to when I used to work with Brian Weiss, who was a
Okay.
psychotherapist. And he used a lot of, if you will, dream states, as well for sleep hypnosis. Yeah, I think you have to set up, you have to have an intention, and you got to have why and before you go to sleep every night, there should be some
Hmm.
type of program that you're listening to that you sleep in your heads. It puts you to sleep. I think it's just calming yourself down. Um,
Hmm.
that kind of regression therapy is good for that. There's so many aspects to why we have problems with um, certain things. So we're really you have to see where the problem stems from originally. Where it could be traumatic childhood in this life or another lifetime, or so many
Absolutely.
aspects you got to look at. Not one easy.
Absolutely. But it's interesting that you just said set the intention. So if you do
Always
want to begin the astral projection, you set an intention before you go to sleep, and then you do positive affirmations. And the positive affirmations will be I perform exit techniques every time I awake. I always
right,
remember my intention to exit. I
right.
am good at astral projection.
That's
I
right.
will easily exit my body.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. So you're setting a program up. You're making your intention.
Right.
That's going to be. We always should do that with everything in life.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
It's so fascinating.
I mean, the Robert Monroe Institute, and it was I forget the book that he wrote, something away, but I forget the name of it. But it was a good book. Robert Monroe. I think he
Mhm.
wrote the first book I know of, the Astral Projection, and
Ah.
it explains it very well. He's a foremost,
Oh,
about that
he was
subject.
huge. So Amy Lee Gutierrez says, "Can you astral project to talk with loved ones on the other side?"
So
Absolutely.
yeah, Kelly, let me interrupt there. Excuse me, but I just thought something.
Okay.
Or maybe it made me. I think that again, here we go as humans that we put astral projection in one category, and I think it's a mistake to do that. So I think
Mhm.
there are many ways that we may astral project, but we don't call it astral projection. Daydreaming may be
Yes.
a form of astral
Mhm.
projection. So I think that we're going to be careful with it's a kind of a gray area sometimes because it might be that just we do daydreaming, but that could we leaving the maybe it's just leaving the consciousness of this physical consciousness
Yeah.
going to the level of consciousness. So
Um, oh, it's somebody. Nikki Diana said, "I astral traveled when I had my flu shot last year. I was like
really,
my soul was around my body, and then it came back. I didn't feel like the real world. I've never had a flu shot in my life. That's very interesting."
well, I could say the same thing about ayahuasca tea when I did it for the first time. Ayahuasca in Brazil, but what was that? It was just a different level of consciousness. I might have been in my body. I think we leave our body a lot. I don't think it's like, oh, I'm leaving my body right now. That's what, this is we're talking about. But we tend to leave our body quickly, subconsciously. We're driving the car and also we miss our exit. Why is that? Well,
Right.
you're not, you're in your body. You're out of your
Well,
body at some level.
you're in a light trance when that happens.
Reading a book or a TV show, you got to rewind.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, so many variables. It's just so interesting. It's just,
Okay, so Jenny Marie says, "What's the difference between astral projection and remote viewing?" I'm glad you asked that question. So, astral projection is when you are working, you leave and you're in the astral plane, and remote viewing is when you're in this dimension. What do you
Correct.
think?
And
Yeah.
remote viewing is a sense, if you will, of traveling in your
Mhm.
mind. And really you're using physical things if to get to your destination. So there's a destination. We did a show on my Beyond series I had. We did I dedicated one show to that, and we brought in a specialist, remote viewer, who taught the military.
Oh, wow, wow.
And we had a staff member go to a shopping mall, and it was Christmas time. And this man came on the show, and he had the full show, whatever it was, a half hour, to remote view, and all he knew was the person's name. That was it. That's all he had. And then he go in his room, and that was it. And he got exactly. He said, "Well, I'm in a space where this person is, and there's stairs going up and down, and I'm seeing something like looks like kind of a Christmas tree, and people are moving around. The person was in a shopping mall, and right next to an escalator is the Christmas tree. So you get the
Oh my
shapes, you get the
gosh.
feeling of motion sometimes to pick things up. Colors is very good. Movement like water or a
Mm,
staircase is the escalator. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting and remote viewing for years. Of course, a military used it, Russia used it,
yeah,
and they're very successful and many
right,
protecting where certain war missiles were located and so forth.
right. Oh my gosh. Oh, somebody's asking, Christina's asking, what about sleepwalking? Any connection? Could be. Uh,
Could be, I could be, and that goes to your department of the brain. I mean, is that some form of something there? Like, what is sleepwalking? What is that? Do you think it is? It's a
um,
different level of
they're
consciousness.
I mean, they're in a different brain wave and they're
Yeah,
trying to do something. They're trying to get somewhere or take care of something, and their
or
body is
the alpha.
paralyzed.
They go back to that first or the second, I guess, beta. They go into beta. They go back to
Yeah.
beta because they're walking, so they have to have some
Hmm.
sense of the physical because they have to walk. Could be
Yeah,
capacity.
but they're asleep. It's the wildest experience.
That is,
A lot of young boys do it. It's big
yeah,
with young boys. I always thought it had to do with trauma.
that's interesting. That's interesting. But I can see that projection. You can see it that way too. I can see that.
Hmm.
And trauma. That's interesting. Trauma. That's interesting. Have you ever heard about when? I don't know how real or not this is. Someone once explained trauma in their experience. That it's when an event happens. It wasn't trauma. They were saying when the soul's not whole. The soul's not
Oh.
whole. And they said, like in a trauma, like sexual abuse, that's a part of that soul leaves when they're young, and then out of like Michael Jackson. They said
Oh,
he wasn't a fully integrated soul. This person said, and I understand that. I believe
I
that. I believe that
totally
sometimes
understand that.
they're not fully integrated, and just
Yeah.
the
Isn't
level of
that
maturity,
interesting?
they're traumatized. You probably run into this all the time, right?
Yeah.
That trauma happened at a certain time, and that's where
Mhm.
maybe their mental or emotional self is. Yeah, it's interesting
Mm.
stuff. You should be
It's
a
so
therapist.
very funny. Trisha Kirby says, I did the Gateway Voyage at the Monroe Institute in the
Yes,
1990s.
that's the name
So
of it.
after first going through the CD series for a month before the course, we were there with Lori Monroe, Bob's daughter, Joe McMonagle, who also was with us. He is married to another daughter of Bob's. They used to train the military
They
remote
did,
viewers
that's
there.
right. That's
Wow.
right,
And
Trisha,
the
yep.
Pentagon top brass would go to the Monroe Institute on
That's
the
very true,
weekends.
Trisha. Very
Wow.
good, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
I'd like to know what happened to you, Trisha, with that. Did it help you? I'm sure probably it did
Good
help you.
question.
I think a lot of it, Kelly, happens a lot when people put themselves through experiences,
Mhm.
and whether we have to, sometimes we fight to put ourselves through experience. I know this because workshops. I have students and they, well, I don't want to be here really, but at the end of the week, they're like, "It changed my life." And I think we just have to have that, open ourselves up to all different types of ways of looking at things, reflecting and learning, and life is just too grand.
Completely.
There's so much potential here, and there's so many things to learn, to see, to experience. Don't be locked
Right.
in a box because you'll never get ahead.
So Renee Hounsel says the how do you pronounce this? The Rosicrucians? I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Rosicrucian,
Astro, is that right? Astral travel.
that's a Rosicrucian, yep.
Okay. Astral travel under the Great Pyramid and hold ceremony of the vowel sounds.
Yeah, that's right, and then our good friend Kathy Forte was there, did that, and she was
They're
also
there right now.
and there she oh,
She's
you
in
know
Egypt right now.
well, there you go. Just so happens. She'll probably be texting us in the next couple of days, yeah.
Um,
And she
oh,
does ceremony in on the Giza under the big pyramid, right? She
mhm.
has them open it. She's allowed to have it opened up or something, we've heard. She has
Yep,
connections or something, she knows someone.
it's so true.
Yeah, she does ceremony right in the middle of below that temple, the big pyramid, the Grand Great Pyramid.
Oh my
Pretty
God.
trippy.
So
I mean, I wanna go there, but at the same time, I'm kinda scared, and it sounds really weird, but I think I died a bad death in Egypt. I really do. I think I died a bad death there. I think it was murder or thrown or some
have
who
you
knows?
been to? I've never been. Have you been?
I've never been, and I've never been down the Nile. I'd like to, but I've never. I think Egypt. I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable. I think I might also been trampled to death by horses. Maybe there. I know that I had that in a couple of lifetimes, but never held interest. China also. I've never really been. I studied
I've been
Chinese.
to China
Yeah,
a few
it
times,
doesn't
but
speak. I guess you'd say.
you know what's funny you said that because I was supposed to go with Kathy 4 different times, and each
To China
time
or
no,
Egypt?
to Egypt, and each time I couldn't do it.
No, is it?
Each time. Huh,
Hello.
well maybe we'll go together sometime or maybe we
Yeah,
won't. We'll
yeah.
we'll figure this one out.
Attention. There we go. Release it.
So Susan Aram says, I trained in remote viewing, yet you have to go to the place from your meditation prior to this. That's true. And yes, this is how it works as well. She's an evidential medium trained by Tony Stockwell to figure out all of this other stuff. So that's very interesting.
Yes, I think it's using the mind. It's using another aspect of your mind. The mind is
Hmm.
so varied. So again, it's expansive. And if humans only use what 10%? Hello, of the brain
Right.
and power.
So
So the
true.
mind itself. So there's so much of the soul to know. Like when I do my development class with people, I can't push enough to just sit in the silence, sit in the stillness of your being if you want to get expanded. That's really the only
Right.
way is to go into the silence. It's very, very true.
Absolutely. Sheila Reed says, my husband traveled back to the 1940s to see his mother's childhood home. What he saw was confirmed by family members. That is
Wow.
absolutely something that you could do with astral projection.
You bet. No time. There's no time.
There's no time. Exactly.
I think that's one of the first things that the people have newly passed have to get used to. That first thing is the time. Remember that there's no time.
Yeah.
I think they remember, of course, once they get over there, they're there for a few months, Earth time. They get into that sense of, oh, I remember this. Now it's all coming back now. It's all coming because we go through what's called the valley of forgetfulness before we come to the human body, and so we start with a clean slate. So I think we
Right.
go back to this time. We remember our soul cells, and oh, that's right. There's no time. Oh, I'm
Right.
responsible for this. So what did I do to these people? Oh, what did I do here? Oh, yeah. It all comes back. It's your heaven. It's your own judge and jury.
Right.
It's
It's so true.
lessons. This
Sharon
time, gotta yeah.
Sharon Aquarius Grant says, I experienced astral travel only once, and it felt like my soul was out of control, almost bouncing in the corners of the room, ceiling, side, and everywhere until I got control. That's very true. I know that feeling, Sharon, but
And
for
why do you
some
think that is,
reason,
Kelly? Why do you think that? Because I think I have a feeling why. What do you think?
well, it's probably freedom for the first time. I mean, real freedom.
I think it's freedom, but I think I think with her personally, I think it's a control issue, which a lot of people have.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a control issue, and you can't have
yeah,
control issues if you're going to astral project because you're going to a different dimension. Hello, yeah,
right.
control it.
Good
So
point. Good
yeah,
point on that.
yeah.
Um, let's see. Shirley Estenzio says the closest I came to astral projection was when I lost a night's sleep driving to my mom's funeral. The next evening, I had dinner and drank alcohol with the family. I was sitting on the stairs with dozens of people in the room and started to float up. I brought myself back in, so I don't know what might have happened. Interesting. So you probably did leave.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, probably did. I mean, a trauma event would have also be able that would get you going too.
I've heard many cases of such a thing that trauma would push them to the yeah. Very true. Very
Oh,
true.
so
There's
here's a
also,
question.
Kelly, when the trauma happens, sometimes too, there's a sense that the person lost time and space. They don't remember what happened at that
Yeah.
particular day, right? Moments that also.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Susan Aram is asking, did you know Paul Elder from Canada and he taught at the Monroe Institute?
Yes, I knew of Paul Elder. I did know of him. I didn't know him well. I knew of him. That's the closest I would say I knew of him, but didn't know him well.
So
Very, very
here's a
true.
question. Jeanette Zagara says, how do you know if you are astral projecting? I am addressed it, whether the dream is a future prediction, a past memory, or just playing around in the astral realm.
Well, does it matter?
Yeah, I guess not.
So
I guess.
that's the human trying to control things again. So we have to
Yeah,
realize that there are dimensions upon dimensions, worlds within worlds, and that
yeah.
each world, if we want to say, works differently. But that one element that's through at all these different levels, and my father's house, many mansions, but same means the same thing. The rippling effect, put a little pebble in a puddle, and you see the ripple. That same
Hmm.
thing. Worlds within spaces, and they all those different spaces have laws that apply to those particular spaces. We got to think of it that way. Then
Right,
it's
right.
so,
Um, There's some great questions here. Helen, go ahead.
While you read the questions, I did a reading. I did a healings the other night after our
Oh, so tell
demonstration.
everybody about this.
And I did I wanted to, because of you, Kelly White, thank you. I wanted to do a little ceremony, like a sacred healing for people, because it was such an intense full moon of Scorpio, letting go of the past, and that moon in Taurus, which is new things. And it was great. Did a meditation, and then I did I don't know, sound healing. Because someone gave me a crystal bowl, a healing bowl, and I think it was the throat chakra. And it was wonderful. I'd never used that before. And it was just, it cleared that space. Certain people I felt had to go back more or work differently. And then it went to that little light trance thing that I'm known for,
Yeah.
where the beings come through and pull things out and activate energy points.
Well, and Taurus represents the throat chakra. So the fact that you were doing that, that's like incredible. They must have just been blown away.
It was good. And then we sat by the fireplace outside, which I never used, only for special occasions like Christmas is the only time I used it. So we used that. Oh, we have a fireplace. I said, yeah, but I never used it. Oh, yes, fireplace.
Oh, how lovely.
I actually got the new wood down in the part of my property and got some logs in the fire, but not realizing there were logs already behind the fireplace. We needed to go pitch dark. It was great. That was a really interesting. I loved Friday night. I just loved it.
Lucky Star woman here says it was such an incredible night. Thank you so much, James.
It was an
It was an
incredible night.
immaculate night, she
It
says.
really was. I said it was probably the best I've ever done demonstration wise. Definitely the best on Zoom, that's for sure.
It was incredible.
You know, the aspects there, the audience is very helpful if they know how they should behave and how it works. And the spirit people are great, and it's great when you know it's working. It's great.
Yeah, everybody was so appreciative too.
Everybody, including me.
It was just a kind energy. It was kind energy.
And the message was forgiveness for everyone.
Oh, it was unbelievable. So Lori Rude, Leslie Chambers, nothing to do with astral travel, but is it possible to speak to someone on the other side, even though they are still living in this world? I had a conversation with my sick husband, even though he was asleep in the room.
Okay, so let me share with Leslie so the way you asked that question was a little off, because nothing to do with travel, but possible speak to someone on the other side. On the other side, so what is the other side? So the other side is really just another level of consciousness. So right now, as we're living, if you will, quotes, in this physical shell, we're also living on the various levels of spiritual levels, and we have several bodies. So you're also sharing that space with him on that level. So that's what prayers tend to work, because you're working on that higher level and you're sharing unconditional love. Same thing with communication with a loved one you can't talk to or need to forgive. You can heal on that level. You can speak to them on that level. And same thing with those that leave the physical. They're still very much aware in the mental body, the emotional body, so forth of you. They're with you. And so that, yes, you can speak to them very much so. There's no reason why you couldn't, but the human gets in the way.
Right. Wendy Bowden says, I attended the Evening of Spirit and it was incredible. And my husband and son came through. I know it.
Oh, wow, Wendy. That's great. And thank you for bringing them through, Wendy. That's because you were probably very open. That's why that happened, because you were probably very open and you weren't sitting trying to make it happen. You let it happen. Let them, intelligent ones, do the work. That's the best way to receive it. God bless you. I hope it helps you. I know it helped everybody in the room.
Oh my gosh. David Vigiano, our friend. Hi, David. When someone asked about sleepwalking, I thought I used to sleepwalk when I was a young boy. My parents would follow me around to make sure I was safe. I would walk into different rooms of the house, then eventually go back to sleep. Then Kelly says that usually happens to young boys. I about fell over. Then you mentioned it's usually connected to trauma, and I did fall over. I never connected it before, but the age I was when I was asleep, walking was the age I was when I was abused. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
David, nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, David. Bless his heart. Let's see.
I'm also wondering about sleepwalking, because that opened up another question in my mind about that. So, there's also might be an aspect of the physical brain that there's something chemically involved there. Some could, who knows? Could be. Could be an aspect.
Could be. It could be. Susie Wright, hi, Kelly and James. Do we always have the control or ability to return to our physical bodies after astral traveling? Yes.
Always.
Always.
Always. Your soul knows better.
Oh, let me tell you, for me, it was a thought, and that was it. Just as if I also knew that I had a thought if I wanted to be in Italy, I could have been. I just was only 24 and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to go that far. But I knew immediately I'd be back. The second I had the thought, I was back.
And that's our soul's nature, traveling like that. Our soul's nature. We travel between dimensions all the time. All the time. Again, it's the human who thinks that this is just so important, it's so big here. A friend of mine just was with me today, and she told me about there's a text which I'll send you. She didn't send it to me yet, about how small we really are. They found out some quantum thing, which I love quantum, and that we're really a speck. I said, oh yeah, the spirit world said, we're merely a grain of sand on the beach. That's how immense. It's not in our capacity to understand the immenseness of life, if you will,
Right.
on all spaces. Yeah.
Right. So
Space to space.
true. Patty Weeks, James's spirit circles in
Hi,
Laguna
Patty.
Beach. Oh,
Oh,
mediumship
Patty.
weekends and week-long medium classes elevated vibrations and led to a spontaneous healing for me.
Oh, hi, Patty. Yes, yes, yes. You for all of us, because of you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Patty. Great to see you again. Wow.
Oh,
I like
so
doing this because you're one of his old friends, and
absolutely. Um, Here, this is from Kelly Harris. Hi, James and
I
Kelly.
was just
Does
take that one out. Stop it. Oh,
Well,
God.
there's I can't help it, James. I think
I
we're
know.
the same person.
Yeah.
Does there need to be trauma to be able to astral project or have an out of body experience? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Imagine a life you don't have to have trauma, and it happens. I was telling you, I'm 24 years old. No idea, but something was very important that day, where my energy was so high and I was so clear. It almost felt like if I had taken speed, only I hadn't taken speed. I was so clear and my energy was just so just strong, but I was in a trance state. It was the strangest
So
thing.
it's different levels of transit consciousness. Let's just say it that way.
Yes.
I once did gummies with a friend of mine, gummy bears, gummies, and we it was so fast. It was like speed, but everything was very clear, and we were able to talk and write things down. And yeah, it was affecting that part of the brain. So yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
It's,
love that. You don't have to have trauma in astral projection, and you
no, of course not. Absolutely not. Um,
well,
it's
the Pokemon and the Earthman. You want to read that one, Kelly? That's
which one, as soon as I can
Yeah,
find it.
dreams, like most of my dreams, are twisted versions of things I saw throughout the day, whether on television or in person. Does that mean anything more than just a wild imagination,
Oh,
Kelly?
well,
I mean,
let's see. If
so
you're
you have your dreams, right?
So, yeah, I mean, it seems like most of your dreams are twisted versions of things. It means that you might be just trying to make sense of things, while
And
you're asleep.
process them.
It's
Process
process.
with the rational
You know,
mind trying to process.
Absolutely. And we're all going through so much. I would think everybody right now is trying to process a lot of things. Like during this period that we're in between these eclipses, it would be processing feelings, processing events, processing your old lives of
Yeah.
old things that have happened in this lifetime, and then
Mm,
getting to this release place moving forward. So it's a good question, actually.
very
Thanks for
positive.
asking that. Um, let's
Oh,
see here.
how about you pick it out?
Oh,
Let's
this
see
is
if
interesting. Trisha Kirby says at the Monroe Institute, they
well,
taught us. Oh my God. They
uh,
taught us to bypass the astral plane. That's a dimensional band direct around the planet. They did not want us pausing there. They wanted us to skip that and go to the higher planes. That's interesting. Are you aware of that one, James? I can understand
heard
that.
that before. I've heard that before,
Yeah.
and every space has a place. Every place is a space. I think that in some ways, depends on the interpretation of what the astral place means to that person who said that. The person taught the person this, taught Trisha that, and Monroe. And I think maybe their intention was that the astral plane is like the negatives, where the dirt is, where the stuff scales off, if you will.
Hmm.
And that's true to a point. It's that lower spiritual place. It is. It's the lower,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to experience everything, and I think that
Yeah.
you have. I mean, when many people first pass the spirit, they'll be on. I've had so many times, including my mother. Oh, I just came back from a tour on the lower spheres. They talk about the lower
Right.
sphere, and you refer to it as the astral world, whatever that means. They said because it's worlds. They said it's worlds, and they've
Right.
often talked about fragments, particles. Thrown out. It's almost like thrown out objects, like old objects, like a junkyard.
Yes.
You know, all that sort of the fragmental stuff. Part of it, but there's many like this Earth there and different levels of consciousness. There are many
Right.
different levels of the astral world. That's the lowest.
Right.
Just
Well,
like
it is the lowest, and I used to refer to it as Sunset Boulevard. I did. I swear to God,
what?
I used to say to my mom, "You don't want to get the astral plane. You just want to keep going. It's like Sunset
You're
Boulevard."
because you're Suffolk Sunset Boulevard when you get to Beverly Hills,
Right.
and I remember living there, just when I first moved to LA, and I'm a sensible delivering something to a lawyer for my job, is delivering something as a runner. And I remember Sensible was dark and that windy road, and it was
That's
like
exactly right.
dark. And I was like, "This has got that big." Remember the big wind right there
Of
next to the
course.
mansion? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I love that. I love that drive, that curve there. But it was really
Yeah.
weird.
It's very
Weird. It was
strange.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right.
Got a
It's so,
strange energy.
so fun.
Terry Picardo, my youngest Astral travels all the time. She can remember doing it before 5 years old. She also has Asperger's and goes to
Mhm.
different levels all the time, just natural. Totally, Terry.
100%.
Totally.
Not only natural, but I think evolves. When you use that, I think
Totally evolved. I always
that,
say that.
I think so. I think most Asperger souls
Oh,
are.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I relate
Um,
with this level because they're such a higher frequency.
oh my gosh. So this is interesting. So this is from Cindy Walker. Hi, James and Kellee. James, I am one of your animal communicators, but I was on your 2001 Greece Turkey trip and the
Wow,
Tahiti trip the
great.
next year, and the
Yeah,
Baltics and the Alaska are
great.
good for
Fun.
you. They're
Really
so
nice.
much fun. I hope we get to travel again, James.
Yes, we're gonna go next time. It's gonna be next October and September down the river, Danube River. We do a river cruise.
Good.
That'll be
I
next
can't
September.
wait. I
Yeah.
cannot wait.
Yeah.
Um, let's see.
And an
Okay.
entity, Nicole Bentley Lowe says, can an entity take over your body while you're astral traveling? If so, what happens to your soul? Well, that's a good one. I like that, Nicole. I think it's a really interesting question. And I'm going to say, I think as part of that could be true. I think that we talked about possession, which I think we give too much credit to. But I do think it could be a certain aspects of that. I mean, when you're around someone in the living state here, and let's say you're around a depressed person all the time,
That's true.
after a while, it takes its toll on you. I know this personally speaking. And I know it takes its toll on you. And you might not consciously be aware of that, but it'll be an
Right.
energy drain. So I think there is an that part of that, which is true. I do think though that your soul, your oversoul, your higher self, would be more in tune with that. Would be protective of that.
Right.
But I would never do anything like this, even the work I do, without the right intention, the right
Right.
mindset, total out of love. And we set that frequency up. Remember, those of a lower frequency can't get close to you. So
Right.
the word protection, I don't like that word because it seems like you have to have protection. You really don't. You're love. All we are love. What we're
Right.
not is fear. Fear is a human trait that's learned, and fear is false ego appearing real. We make
I
that.
love that.
Love
I
is really.
love that. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Linda Miller, ever since I can remember, I've been able to astral project. When I
Yep.
was young, I used my pillow like a TV and chose different channels, even going back to where I was after waking up.
Wow, Linda,
Wow.
that's pretty cool. And I'm going to share something with just thank you very much for helping me remember this. I think good to see you again. When I was a little boy, I used to do something similar, because I was in a lot of pain with my family. With my mom was an alcoholic. It was just, I was the last of four kids. It was a great. I remember I had a great imagination. I used to go traveling. I used to go in different worlds and
Mm,
imagination gardens, and so maybe I probably was asked traveling then.
I bet you were.
I think I
Yeah.
probably was.
And you used to go into gardens.
I used to go to the gardens, and yeah, it was
So
really
you've
interesting.
always liked gardens.
Always like gardens. So interesting. Always like gardens. In meditation, when I first started doing meditation, without being told anything, I would naturally create a garden for people or myself. I'd have a rose. That was the first thing I learned was a rose by myself. No one told me that. And I would see the rose grow and the different skins of
Hmm.
the rose grow, and what the rose feels like, the color. And now I have a rose garden, which is, I love different roses. And
Who got you involved with the gardens? Did anybody, or was that just something that
yeah,
you
I
came
think it
in
was
with?
my grandmother. My grandmother, when I was a
Okay.
little boy, she used to, and one of my mediums, three, got this information through in a reading she did for me. I was like, wow, she got her name and these details. My grandmother was from South Wales, and she came to
Oh,
New York, which was 14 years old, 17 years old. She married this man, a Londoner, and he was living in New York. She went to met him at a wedding. And that's all she knew. She missed, and she never went back till years later to South Wales.
mm,
She missed her. She grew up on the farm. She grew up in the countrysides. So she
oh,
loved gardens. And she would tell me the beautiful places she would go to. And she lived in Queens in this awful, city block. It was a cement block. There were no gardens.
right.
And she used to tell me about that. And I think that really got my imagination and curiosity going. And
I
I've
was
always liked
wondering.
Capricorn rising with Virgo sun, so earth signs. So
Earth sign, yeah.
what's more than that? I respect the garden. I respect that life form. I respect all of
Mm,
that. I respect nature. I respect nature in its form, and Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh gosh. I just love that. Marnie Jorgensen said the other night I had experienced a jolt of energy that went through my crown. It felt like a big hand placed on my head just as I was falling asleep, but this energy woke me completely and felt very comforting. Would you know what this may have been?
what do you think, Kelly?
Hmm. Well, it's your definitely your vital life force. Somehow it's your soul. Was your soul getting ready to leave? What do you think, James?
Well, hold on one second. I can write this out. Marty, good to see you again. And I know I just got I hit or felt like when you were doing that, when that hand came down on you, I think you're partly in the body and partly out of the body. So you
Mm.
responded as a physical person with being awake in awakened state. But I think that hand was a sense of really who you are and where you go to is spiritual. I thought the feeling I have of it, that it was a really great thing. But you were in that still in that human state. So you received it kind of in a human way. And
Yeah.
that fear because of judgment, because you know what that is, the unknowing, if you will, on a human level.
Yeah. Well,
But that makes
all of us have had that experience of when you're falling asleep and then you jolt up.
Yes. So that is when the soul is not leaving the correct axis of the physical
Ah,
body.
would you explain that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like pattern or road to go to exit, an exit road, if you call it that.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's got to be set perfectly centered. Now, how do you do it? I don't know. It's just your soul knows the right way to go, the gateway, if you will. And when we're not fully there, we come right back to the body. Something shakes us awake. We feel like falling off a mountain or a roller coaster. And it happens to all of us. And that's what I've been told,
Right.
that we're not moving correctly out of the body. That's what I've been told.
That makes sense though.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Joanne Hewitt says, "Is there a vibration in the body before astral travel?" All I know from my own experience is that my vibration was very high. I could feel it beat raising my vibration. So I think so.
Yeah, so we have to remember everything is energy and the different levels
Yeah.
of energy and different vibration. So it's yeah, I think maybe we vibrate and as a soul, we vibrate much faster in this physical
Yeah.
world. The physical vibration is not normal for us. It's foreign really for souls. It's like asking you to go to 8 foot of water, sit down at the bottom of the pool and have a conversation. But you want to go back to the top and be able to breathe because that's what you know, that's your natural world. Same thing with the
Right.
soul. This is not our natural place. So it's hard for us, whether I'm aware of that,
Yeah.
whether we're aware of that or not, or as we act out in different ways, right, Kelly? That some might act out in a strange mental way, or because that feeling of being kind of not in the right space or the right
Well,
vibration.
I like the way you said that. It's true. It's not our natural state. It's not our natural place.
No,
Really
it's not a
isn't.
no, it is not. It's a foreign
Mm-mm.
place for all of us, every one of us, and
Right.
people behaving badly is not right for us either. I mean, people behaving badly,
Oh,
and those in the positions of responsibility, who leaders, if you will, or the heads of companies, or whatever you want to say, have responsibility because people look up to them to learn
right.
from them. And the ones that we're in charge of or head of don't do the job correctly. Look at how that rippling effect.
Oh,
It
so
goes
true.
back to our world
It's
today,
so true. It's her world. And so,
right? We're living
yeah,
it.
we're living it right now. Oh my gosh. Well, James, I hope, what are you
Ah,
doing for Thanksgiving? You're going to go to
I'm
visit
visiting
friends?
in Laguna Beach and just sleeping over with my good friend Mary Ann, who I've known
I
for
love
many.
Marianne.
My first friend I met in California, and
Oh,
yeah, we're going to spend 2 nights with our friend Joe Nancy and have a good time. Go visit Mild Hood.
good.
Probably like 45 minutes north, so I'm fine.
Good. Have fun. Oh my gosh.
What are you doing, Kelly?
My brother's gonna come from Chicago. He's filming a show there, so he's gonna
All
come,
right.
and I haven't gotten to see him much, so I'm really excited about that.
Wow, you're like, wow. It's interesting. You were talking about that at the beginning of the show. It's like
I know, and we'll see. Maybe there'll be a big kabang. Who knows?
you never know.
Never know.
It's what it is.
Maybe it'll
That's
be
what
peaceful.
it
I
is.
doubt it. It's my family. I doubt it.
Hey, can I just read you something while I'm looking at it
Oh, please.
here? So I was cleaning up looking for a memorial about memory last week, and this card came out, and I love it.
Okay.
And I read it to everybody. It says, "You are here to enable the world to live more amply with greater vision and with a finer spirit of hope and achievement. You are here to enrich the world." And that's by Woodrow Wilson. And that was
Oh,
from my friend Chip. It was from Chip, my good friend Chip.
oh, sweet.
That's
Sweet.
true. That's someone shows everyone. That's why we're here. Yeah.
That's why we're here. Oh my gosh.
Have a happy
Have a
Thanksgiving
happy
and
Thanksgiving. And by the way, James, you know what we're doing next week? Leslie Flint,
yes, I've been looking feverishly for that tape,
which
and
is
I will
going to
find
be
it.
really great next week, next Monday, everybody.
Leslie Flynn, but you really have to hear that because you'll just flip out.
Amazing.
We're really having our hearts to flip you out. And we're changing things up a little bit, and I'm going to change the opening of the show because I no longer have a beard. And we went around that park so long now we have to go. We're going to travel a different way.
Yes, can't wait.
But it's going to be fun. We're going to do a fun opening. So Ryan Brown, our animator, is going to help us with that. So
that's going to be fun. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Renee. Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
The James and Kellee Show.